This is what they call the mom and pop hot dog, and it's the best hot dog you'll ever eat. And you'll only get one at them old mom and pop stores. Welcome to Whippoorwill Holler. I'm Miss Lori, and this is Mr. Brown. We live in the hills of Arkansas. We love the Lord. Keepers of the old way, but accept some of the new. We love to cook, and we love to eat. We love to garden. It's in our blood. It's how we stay sustainable and fill our pantry. We do a lot of canning and preserving. We live a sustainable life. We love our family. We work hard. And every once in a while, we like to dance. So y'all join us. I was born in Greenville, Texas. And I lived from the time I was born till I was about 13 years old in Texas, around Houston, Texas, mainly in a town called Pasadena. So I spent most of my younger days in Texas. And even as young as I was, I got to experience a lot of good food and a lot of good cooks. But there's a lot of things that I remember too. One of them was that I never had homemade pancakes at home. But it was a treat for me to go out, to be able to go out to, I just remember it being a pancake restaurant. It wasn't IHOP. I really don't remember what it was called. But it was the best pancakes I ever ate. They were so good. I remember the smell of that restaurant, of pancakes cooking and bacon frying. And that'll always be on my mind and in my memories. The other memory I have, besides all the great Tex-Mex and smoked briskets and, I mean, everything, Texas has got a lot of good cooks, y'all. I remember the mom and pop stores. And I know a lot of y'all my age, older, remember these stores. They were just the old building, a lot of times on the main stretch or way out in the country. They had everything from feed to gas to groceries to a deli. And they would even cook you a good old hand-patted hamburger and a good old hot dog. A lot of the farmers would come in needing a sandwich. They'd make them a sandwich. Maybe in the mornings they might even have biscuits and gravy or biscuit and sausage. There's just nothing any better than the old mom and pop stores. And one of the things I remember are the hot dogs. They made these hot dogs and people would come in and buy 2 or 3 of them at a time. Now, how are they different? Well, I guess it was all the love they put into it. Nothing but a hot dog and a hamburger bun and a lot of butter. And it's the best hot dog you'll ever eat. So thank goodness that we had them mom and pop stores. You know, we even had them here in Arkansas. So when I moved up here when I was 13 years old, there were still several around. My family ran one in Dalton, which is now known as the Mennonite store in Dalton, Arkansas. Danny's grandma Gladys ran a little cafe and I don't know if maybe I know there was a store right beside it. And she made hamburgers, and I think you could get a dip of ice cream and a cold soda. And she made a living doing that. Bless her heart. One of the hardest working women I ever known. But this hot dog, I mean, it's just the best. I can't express that anymore. And you're thinking, you are out of your mind. No, I'm not. So all I can say is y'all been eating your hot dogs the wrong way. First thing you gotta do is you gotta take your bun length hot dogs, 2 of them, and just kind of split them halfway, not all the way through, kind of like you're butterflying a chicken breast. Just kind of spread that open like that, because what you're going to do is you're going to grill the inside of that hot dog, not just the outside. And the reason you do 2 at a time is I'm fixing to show you how you eat a hot dog the right way. So to spread them out, and I'm going to take a little bit of butter in my pan. And you can do this out on the grill too. But you want enough butter in there for not just hot dogs, but to toast your buns too. So you lay them hot dogs as flat as you can in that skillet. And you're going to heat these hot dogs up. You're going to get them good brown on each side. So the key to a really good mom and pop's hot dog is lots of butter. And getting a good scald on these hot dogs. And then you want enough butter in your skillet or pan to really toast these buns up and get them just sloppy with butter. And no, this is not a diet meal, that's for sure. But you know, every once in a while. So they're just about done. Now if you want to, you can fry an egg and put that on top of here too. Then you got to take these buttered toasted buns, and you got to smash them just like this when you get your hot dogs in there. You don't need no mustard, you don't need no ketchup, because all you got is this thing just full of butter. I said, Avery, do you want Nanny to go cook you a hot dog? She loves hot dogs. She said, yes. And I got to thinking, I said, well, I'm going to make her the hot dogs that I remember as a little girl, too. Plus them hand-patted homemade hamburgers. You just ain't going to get nothing any better. So I went in there and I made her a hot dog just like this. And you can see they're thin, they're buttery, and so good. And when I took that to her and set it down, she looked at it and she said, that's not a hot dog, Nan. I said, oh, yes, it is. I said, just taste it. And she did. And she ate just about every bit of it. And she said, that's the best hot dog I ever had. So I just want to share this with y'all. Some of y'all might remember these. And some of y'all may not have ever ate one. But they are the best. Buttery, juiciest way of serving up a hot dog. I love it. I love those memories of days gone past. Things that you do kind of forget about. But then when you see it and you say, oh my goodness, I remember that. And they were the best. That's why I said, y'all are eating your hot dogs the wrong way. And also, you had to have a cold Dr. Pepper or an RC to go with it. One of Danny's favorite desserts is strawberry. Strawberries on yellow cake. So simple, so old-fashioned. And we haven't had any strawberries since summertime. And I had a few left in the freezer. So I'm going to make him a strawberry cake. That way he can just get him a piece anytime he wants to. This is not your church lady strawberry cake. This is, and they are very good. I love them. This is just your simple strawberry cake. This does not have strawberry jello in it. It doesn't have the powdered sugar icing on it. All this is a simple yellow cake. In fact, I just used a Duncan Hines cake mix. And I let the cake cool off. And now I'm just poking a bunch of holes in it. I've got about 2 cups of sweetened strawberries over here with the juice, syrup. And I'm just going to pour it over this cake. Let all them juices just ooze down to all these holes. Like I said, there's no jello in this, no gelatin. It's just plain and simple yellow cake, strawberries, and whipped cream. Because sometimes simple is the best. This is how they would have done it back in the day. They wouldn't have had any kind of gelatin to put in their cakes. But they would have had maybe some strawberries they raised. Would they have had whipped cream? Maybe if they had a good Jersey cow that had lots of cream. I would say so. But this is one of Danny's favorites. You know, strawberries, you can buy them all year round. I've never been very successful in growing a big old patch of strawberries. I just never have had the right soil, I think. But I can grow a few, you know, enough to eat every now and then. But most of the time, when the strawberries come off, I have to go buy some and put them out in the freezer. Now I'm just going to put some whipped topping on it, and that is a dessert that's more than probably what me and him can eat, but I may take some to the kids. Very simple, very fresh whipped cream and strawberries. So there you go. A simple dessert for the winter time that you normally would probably only eat around summertime or so, with the fresh strawberries that you put up in the freezer, some homemade whipped cream, or if you have Cool Whip, whichever you prefer. So I'm just going to cover this up, put it in the refrigerator, and Mr. Brown, when he gets home, can have all the strawberry cake that he wants. I think he'll be happy. Well, it's the next day, and I wanted to close this video with, I get a lot of y'all that, even my old subscribers that have been with me so long, y'all like for me to come back and do this. And then I've got my newer subscribers. Thank you so much for being here and wanting to come into my journey here on this homestead, me and Mr. Brown. We appreciate every one of y'all so much. But y'all want to see some of the old stuff, because this little cabin is full of history, and it's full of the old ways and old things. And a lot of them we do use, and some of them we don't. We just like to look at them, knowing that in some time in the past that they were used and were essential, for living purposes and cooking and just whatever, it took to survive. So I just kind of gathered up a few things that was around me right here in the kitchen. And it would take me several videos to really show y'all, you know, a lot of my antique or, flea market finds. And I can tell you that a lot of it was gifted to me too over the years from all of y'all. And because y'all know how much I appreciate and love the old ways. And some of this stuff is not old, but we still use them in our daily life because, say for instance, this right here. This is for mixing and kneading bread by hand. Now they have some that are very, very, very old, and if you find one, they're very expensive, and I always wanted one. I went to a flea market, I'm going to say it's been a couple of years ago, and this was sitting there on the floor. Now this is not an old one, and this may be one that Lehman's store, it may be the one that they sell. I don't know, I've never looked. But it's got the dough hook, you can see, and it's got the handle on it, and you can mix up quite a bit of bread in this. And I've only done it one time, but it does work. And I need to use it more. I keep it up on a shelf, but you just mix your dough up in there just like you would any other time, and you just turn this. And you know what? I need to use this more. Um, Most of the time, I just mix my bread up by hand, anyways. But a lot of times, if I'm in a hurry or my hands are hurting and I just can't do all that kneading, of course, I use my Nutri-Mill mixer that I absolutely love. But this does a good job, y'all. And you can sit there and get your kids to use it, get your husband to help you, because once it's mixed up, you can knead it. You can continue to knead it. And it does a pretty decent job. But anyways, that's one of my finds that I do. It's not old, but like I said, there are some really old ones, and they're very expensive if you find them. This is an old corn popper that I use on my gas cook stove, and I use on the wood cook stove. It's called an easy corn popper, and you can tell I use it because it's still got popcorn, a little piece of popcorn in it. But it's very easy to use, and it does work, y'all. It absolutely pops popcorn so good. I just put a little bit of oil in the bottom and throw a handful of popcorn in there, and it'll just pop, 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 and pretty much every kernel will be popped. And this is the little thing that you'll turn the whole time it's popping. And if you keep turning it, that just keeps them kernels, separated and keeps them going, and it'll pop this plum up. You put too much in it, it'll pop them. Of course, it's got a little deal right here to keep it from coming up, but half the time I don't latch it down, and it'll come on up as it's. But this is a neat thing. I don't really know when these were made. I haven't looked it up, but it is old. It's got the red handle, and this was found at a antique store. It's been years ago, so I don't even remember where I found it, to tell you the truth. This here is what they would have cooked bundt cakes or angel food cakes in. This thing is old, y'all. I haven't never looked it up yet. Like I said, I just don't have time. And I should. When I buy these things, I should come home right then and look them up. But this is Swan's Down cake flour. It says makes better cakes, and it's a let me see what it says on the side. This was made in Chicago by, I gotta put my glasses on, y'all. I usually have them right here, but they kind of get in my way. It says E. Katzinger Company, Chicago. And there's something that's underneath that plate, but you can't really read it. But it is old. It's old, and oh, here we go. It just says E. Katzinger Company, Chicago, license MFRS, and I don't know what that means. It says patent. The patent was in December of 1823. So that's how old this is. Now I've got a smaller one of this too. And I want you to know I found this at, it was a flea market dash antique place. Oh, it was a big one. And I found this in the smaller one. I should have got it down too. And I didn't pay nothing for these. And I thought, I can't believe they're selling these cheap because they're old, y'all. I don't use them. And they're heavy. But I would say that probably there was a bunch of these, and maybe a company probably used them making cakes to sell, I would say, just by the way they look. And the sides lift up like this. It's to kind of let air in there on both sides. So I don't know what that is. So if y'all look this up, maybe y'all can figure out everything, with these. And it may have been a company, like I said, a big company that baked cakes in these. I've got this size and I got the size smaller. And of course, y'all seen in one of my later videos of the lemon squeezer here, the wooden one. And I haven't used it yet, y'all. I haven't washed it up real good. It's still sitting in my cabinet. And of course, y'all know how I love the old cookbooks. Y'all, over the 7 years of me being on YouTube, so many of y'all have gifted me some of the most beautiful heirloom cookbooks that I could ever imagine. Some of them are so old that I've had to put them, I've had to bag them up and put something over them to keep them from getting tore up. And I just keep them up on a shelf where the grandkids and stuff can't get to them. But I'm telling you, I've got so many of them. I've been blessed with y'all gifting me all these cookbooks, even new cookbooks that y'all sent me. Believe me, I sit down, I look at them, and I read them just like a novel. So this is the Fanny Farmer cookbook, and this was gifted to me several years ago. But y'all know how much I love my old cookbooks. This is an old whisk. I'm sure some of y'all have seen these. You see these in antique stores and flea markets a lot. And I have used this before, to tell you the truth. But then I washed it up good and I just hang it up because I'm afraid it's going to rust. But with that wire in there like that, it'll whisk eggs or anything like that up batter. Nothing real heavy. And this one, you can tell, the pieces in there were welded. And then, it was just turned. And it's pretty neat. I've got several old sifters. And this one was always my favorite one. I used to use this one, but now I hang it up. I've got all kinds of old measuring tins like this. I've got this size. I've got little tiny measuring cups. Let me get some real quick. I forgot to bring those over here, but I've got so many that, and I've got a lot of different antique biscuit cutters that I collect. Anytime I see them and they're not wanting an arm and leg for them, I pick them up. I've got a place over here that I put all that. But these are that's a fourth of a cup, and I think this is a third of a cup. But I've got a bunch of these different sizes, and I love these old measuring cups like this. This right here, I've got two of these. I would say that you would put an egg in there to strain your yolk. Probably different things I used it for, but it's old. It does have a plastic handle though. So I do have another one that is all wire. It doesn't have a plastic handle and it's hanging up too. So I have all kinds of utensils. I just didn't get them all out. Like I said, it would take me forever. This is an old antique funnel. You can see I do use this though. I just found this a couple of years ago, and I don't think I give it maybe 50 cents for it. But it's very useful. I love it. Of course, y'all have seen me use my hand mixer here. I'll tell you what, these things have mixed over the years, have mixed a lot of eggs, cake batters, you name it, pancakes. It was just a handy thing for a lady to have back in the day. And I used to use it all the time. I don't use it as much as I used to because of the arthritis in my hands sometimes, but I still use it sometimes. I just keep it hung up over here with all my different utensils. Now this is a old cookie cutter, and it's the kind that's got the back on it, and it's got a hole through the middle, so you can press down and it'll help it to come off your dough. These like this are very old. In fact, I've got several of these that I hang on my little tree in here during Christmas time. I don't use them for cutting cookies out, but they look really cute hanging on your Christmas tree. I don't know if y'all can see that very good, but this right here is a dipper. I remember these things. These are very handy when you're canning too. I want to say this isn't real old, but it's probably about, I'd say, in the 60s or so. And it goes up to about six, it goes up to 4 ounces, but I'm going to say this is probably 4 or 5, 6. It could be close to a cup, and I'm sure it is. But it's good for when you're canning, like I said, jellies or stuff like that, anything, broth. Um, but a lot of times they'd put this out by the well house or where, they'd be getting the water. And during the day, if the men were out working or the children, they'd go get them out of the bucket of that cold water from that well and get them a drink of water. And I have several of these. I've got some that are old though. This one isn't that old, but I mean, probably about the 60s. This right here is an old mixing bowl, and I love these. We call them, I don't know about this one, we call them yellowware. Y'all may call them something else. This one is very old. I don't use it. I just put it out for looks. And I have a lot of old mixing bowls. In fact, y'all see me use them quite a bit. I've got one that was gifted to me by a lady. She's gone now. She passed with cancer. And I know that bowl is probably 100 years old or older. And I don't use it. I put fruit in it, and it's very pretty. This right here, this is a sifter, an old flour sifter. This come over from the UK. I ordered this off of it was either eBay or Etsy, and it did take a while to get it. But I looked and looked and looked because I wanted the real deal of an old flour sifter, and I got this one. Now it's not as big as what I wanted, but they're kind of expensive, so I wanted the one that I knew I could afford. And it does a great job. When I mill my fresh wheat berries, and I want to get as fine of that hull and stuff out of it to get that flour, just as fine as I can. I'll sift it through here, so it does get used. I hang it on my wall because I love it. But I don't know how old this is, but it's very old. In fact, it's got some writing here, but you can't really read it, and it's not all there. But anyways, I love this thing, just the fact of the age that it is. I will always keep this, and I hope to pass it on to my kids or grandkids. These are old pie plates. I'm looking down at yes, make sure it didn't die on me. This is an old pie plate. This is a Mellow Rich Mrs. Smith pie plate. And I have all kinds of these old pie plates that they would have used in their company to bake their pies. And you see there's holes in the bottom of these pie plates, and that is to make that crust under there a crispier, less soggy crust. And some of the others aren't Mrs. Smith. I forget what they are, but they're hanging, so I didn't want to take them down. But I do have several of these. Let's see. I have all kinds of cookie cutters in this jar. Most of them are old that I have collected from flea markets and antique stores. And then I've got some like this that are not old. These are new. But a lot of times I'll take these that I know that I won't use. I'll hang them on the Christmas tree. I have a little tree in here that stays up, and I'll hang some of them on there. So that's things that I collect too, is old cookie cutters. And of course the old biscuit cutters too. And this is just a few of them. I have several over here in a basket that I collect. I just, when I buy one, I'll look at it for a while, then I'll go over there and put it with my others. So I have a pretty good collection of the old biscuit cutters. And of course, if y'all been with me a while, y'all know that I have all kinds of shapes and sizes of the old enamel dish pans. I have some this big, and sizes just keep going down, and I use them for everything, especially in the summertime when I've got so much produce going in and out. I bring them out and I use them. This one stays in my sink a lot because it's just the right size, and I keep it in there, and during the day I'll keep a little hot water in there. And me and Mr. Brown are always doing something with a spoon or a fork or something. I'm always cooking. I just throw them utensils in there. That way they're soaking a little bit, and I can just reach in there and wash them. So it stays in my sink. But like I said, this is just a few things that I just kind of gathered up here beside me. And it would, I'm telling y'all, it'd take several videos. But I think just a couple more things I want to talk about, though, before I end this video. Some people ask me about my gas cook stove. This is a Heartland propane. One of the front burners, it doesn't work. So I keep it covered up because it doesn't work. We don't need to be, somebody come over here and try to turn it on. Because propane be coming out and it doesn't work. It won't ignite. We've tried to find parts for it. It's hard to find parts because they don't make these anymore. Heartland, let's see, I think this is about a 2018 model here. So they're not, real old. They're made to look antique. Danny found this on Craigslist down south of Arkansas, and I cannot remember the name of that town, but it took us down to the deep south parts of Arkansas and places that I had never seen. It was absolutely beautiful down there, so I enjoyed the trip. And it was something else to get it loaded and get home, but we did it because the bottom comes off. But I'm telling you, it was heavy. And of course, this comes off too. So we had to take this off and take this part off the bottom and then bring it in. He found it on Craigslist. It was more than what we really wanted to give for one, but it was in such good condition and was not filthy, filthy, filthy. I mean, it needed to be cleaned up, of course. So I told Danny, I said, I really want to go ahead and get it. So we did, and we brought it home. And it does an excellent job cooking. It's just me, Mr. Brown. I don't have to, and I've got the wood cook stove, and I just don't have to have, a huge cook stove. And I absolutely, every time I come over and cook, I just think of the old days. Now, I used to have an old propane gas cook stove at the old farmhouse where I raised the children over there on my grandpa's farm. And it sat in the house for a while, but it was never hooked up. And then I think eventually we put it on the back porch, And I just kept it decorated. But it was so pretty. I wish I would have been able to use it. But this is a Heartland. They were made in Ontario, Canada. They quit making them, I think, 2019. And of course, then the company, AGA, bought them out. So they started making them in the United States. But I'm pretty sure they don't make this one. Now, if you go to Lehman's on their catalog, they do have some pretty gas looking, antique looking, so pretty cook stoves. So if you're ever looking for one, go to Lehman's. They do have some nice ones. I can't remember what company they're built by, but these right here were built by the Amish, and this will be here for my great grandchildren. It'll be here forever. And some people have asked about this. They think it might be a biscuit warmer, but it's not. Um, Up here was a timer, and it doesn't work anymore. You probably had to take this whole board out, and I don't even know if you could fix it. But that's where the light is, and it also has a fan. So that's where that is. And then I can just put some of my spices up here. So it's not a biscuit warmer, but it does look like one, doesn't it? It does have a little oven in it. Then it has a space down here to keep your skillets and stuff like that. And you can also keep food warm down there because the heat from the oven kind of keeps food down there warm. Excuse me. There's a little place right here that I can keep little pots and pans in. Nothing here, that's just for looks. Of course, over here is where the knobs are to turn it on and off. I'm glad that they're over here and not up front, so the grandchildren can't be messing with it. So that's why I'm sure all the electrical stuff is right in here. But I'm telling y'all, this thing is so heavy. Oh, it's so heavy. So, so that's the gist of the old propane cook stove. Like I said, he found it on Craigslist, and they don't make this one anymore. But if you go to Lehman's, you might find one from a different company. And they're beautiful. They really are. But I will always have this, even if I eventually have to get a new cook stove. I won't never part with this one. In fact, it'll stay right here till the floor falls in, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to show you the wood cook stove. Some of y'all have asked me about the wood cook stove. So I'm going to turn y'all around. This is a Pioneer made. This is one of the most efficient. This was made by the Amish too. This was one of the most efficient wood cook stoves. It did used to have a back on it, like your regular wood cook stoves would have. It had a back on it. And because of where it sits between the sitting area and our dining room and kitchen, and it was collecting so much dust, I could not keep it clean. It did have a biscuit warmer in it, but we took the back off, and so it would open up this area, because with that huge back on it, it just kind of closed us off from whoever was sitting, in the sitting area, because this is a small cabin. We do cook on this. This is our heat during the wintertime. This Pioneer made, it has a huge firebox in it, and you load from the top. You can load this up, and it keeps you a nice fire going all night. And as cold as it's been, I mean, this thing has run us plumb out of here, y'all. It can be 7 degrees outside, and Daniel stoked this fire up, and we've got the front door open. But of course, this is a small cabin. But sorry, this is one of the most efficient wood cook stoves you'll ever find. It has a big ash box on the bottom, which Danny likes. Has a big oven. Y'all see me cooking this oven. Y'all see me cook on top of it. It's stainless steel on top. So it does conduct a lot of heat. And this thing it does an excellent job to keep us warm. I can cook on it. And like I said, it did have a back on it. In fact, we still have it. One of these years we may put it back on there. Who knows? But right now I just like it without it because it opened the room back up where everything wasn't closed off. Because when you've got all my family in here, they're sitting at the table, they're sitting over here, they're sitting over there, they're sitting out in the sunroom, but the place is tiny enough we can still kind of congregate and talk to each other. But when that was there, you couldn't see them if they sitting on the other side. So Pioneer made, and so then they went from Pioneer made to Pioneer Princess. And that became a front loader, which a lot of people have. The front loader does not have as big a firebox as this one does. This will be here forever, as far as I know. I wouldn't want to move it out. It took 7 people, I think, 6, 7 people to get it in here, and I'm talking big, strong men. So I just can't imagine it being moved. So it'll probably be here forever, like I said, till the floor falls in, I guess. But the best investment we ever made. But I want to tell y'all again. I can't remember if it was Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. Now when you go to these places, you can always usually go to search and put in there what you're looking for, and most of the time you're gonna find it. It may not be in your state, but you're gonna find it. But this was funny because Danny looking for a wood cook stove, and we didn't want to give thousands of dollars for one because we couldn't afford it. This one popped up. Lo and behold, it was only maybe 5 miles down the road. Well, it might have been 10 miles down the road, back of Graff Road from us. Not very far from here, y'all. And we only get $500 for this thing. They had barely used it. They had put it in a nice home back there. Their intentions was to use it if they needed it, and I guess they never had needed it and didn't use it very much at all. So they had took it apart, and we loaded it up and brought it home. But I'm telling you, you talk about heavy. This thing is heavy. $500. So how could you pass that up? You can't. So it was a blessing, that's for sure. So yeah, bakes bread really good. Cookies, I'm real bad at cookies anyways. I had to put a timer on. But you have to really watch cookies in here because they'll burn up pretty quick. But most things I can bake. I'm going to bring y'all on around things that are just for decor mainly. Some of them I use. I'll knock you around a little bit. I figure Mr. Brown will be home anytime. He's spent the night with his mama last night. They're cooking her breakfast this morning. And I'm going to get me a drink. This is an old scale. I had looked and looked and looked, even online for one. And finally, I went to a flea market and found this. And it was in such good condition. I just think they're beautiful. I love old scales. This one is a Brantford Scale Company out of Brantford, Canada, is where this come from. So I don't know if it was in a grocery store, maybe feed store, or where they sold. Who knows? I don't know. But it's a Brantford Scale Company out of Brantford, Canada, and I love this thing. Sometimes I'll put fruit or candy in here. This is my old bowl. Y'all see me use this all the time. It's my favorite mixing bowl. So that's just one of them. This right here is your old Mix Master, and it does still work. And I use it when I need it, but it seems like anymore I mix most of my stuff by hand. But it does still work. If you put anything very dense in it, like really heavy cookie dough or something, the motor seems to try to overwork itself. So when I use this, I don't really do cookies in it much, unless if it's a real thick dough. So, anyways, that's just one of the other things. Um, Vintage that I use. The old Clabber Girl baking powder. It's got the tin on top. I collect old tins like that. Um, but I love them and I collect them. I collect these old tins. There's that other little bundt pan, angel food cake pan up there. That's some of my old tins I collect. Some of them have been given to me because y'all know how much I love them. Now, some of the stuff is way up here on the shelf. So anybody that likes the dust, y'all just come see me. Up there is some old goat bells. We know the family, they had an estate sale, and their grandparents used these on milk cow, the biggest one, and then the smallest ones were used on their goats. I've got a picture. It looks like it's fell up there. That light might get in y'all's eyes. Let me see. Yeah, just have to be careful. I'm going to go down here to the end. This is stuff that we don't get down very much. That is, you can see, that is a very old washboard. And we got two butter churns. We got the smaller glass one that we've used. That right there takes gallons of cream. It is a huge one. It's by Ward's butter churn. It's very, very old. We've never used it ourselves, but when the Mennonites was building this cabin, they seen it, and of course, they were, they'd never seen one, never used one like that, and they were real intrigued by it. And Danny told them, he said, "Well, would your kids like to make some butter in that?" And Stephen was like, "Yes, they would love it." He said, "If you think you can get enough cream to fill that thing up and make butter," he said, "take it home and use it." So he did, and they got enough cream for that. And he said them kids cranked and cranked and cranked and cranked and made butter. Then he cleaned it up and brought it back to us. Danny collects. So if you ever notice throughout our cabin, he collects pulleys, the old pulleys that would have come out of an old barn, an old hay barn, because that brings memories to him of the old pulleys. And you'll just see them throughout the beams here in the main part, just kind of hanging throughout. Uh-oh, something just fell. But you can see they just kind of hang within everything else. He'll find one that he really likes. I let him hang them up there because I think they look kind of neat too. I mean, if I'm going to hang my stuff up here, might as well let him hang his stuff. So they're all through the house. I'm going to have to wrap this up because I've got some errands I've got to run. This is a kraut shredder. This is a beautiful, my friend Laura sent this to me for my birthday. Isn't that pretty? I can't hardly bear to use it and get it dirty, so I just got it hanging up there. Well, here's some old shredders for shredding cheese, and that's kind of like a slicer. I've got old muffin pans. I've got the old strainer. It's going to be hard for y'all to see this, but up on the very top, that is an old egg crate. That's how they used to haul eggs to the grocery store. I've got old cast iron and I've got new cast iron. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that. I could show y'all so much more, and maybe in other videos, I'll kind of put that in, at the end of some of the videos. I haven't been doing separate videos for um, that didn't have some kind of cooking in it because YouTube has changed. And if what they do is they kind of categorize, and they've already done it, your channel, where it stands. Where does this channel stand? What audience is it going to? Well, when I started, it was mainly, of course, I've been homesteading all of our lives. And so I guess at the point, and I told Danny one time, I said, I think I messed up when I named this channel, or he did pretty much, Whippoorwill Holler. And when I say that, it's because we didn't put Homestead at the end of it. We just put Whippoorwill Holler. So when you go to the search bar and you put in Homestead or homesteading or homesteaders, our channel hardly ever comes up. Why? Because it's not in our title, it's not in our name. But it's what we teach and it's what we've done all of our life. And I feel like that kind of leaves us out of that category. So most of my videos since I started has been about my love for cooking and baking and canning, gardening and plants, and you name it, anything that has to do with homesteading, being efficient, self-sufficient. That's me and Mr. Brown. But they don't put us in that category. I can go out there and I can do all kinds of gardening for y'all, and it doesn't get put out there as a gardening channel, put it that way. And a while back, I sat down and I read a lovely book to y'all, and I absolutely enjoyed doing it. And so many of y'all loved it too. Um, it messed my algorithm up, and it messed my watch time up. So, as YouTubers and content creators that are doing this because we love it, but it's also a supplement for our income. Um, because I don't draw Social Security right now, and it just made it. It did. It hurt it, and I'm going back and I'm thinking and I'm looking at my analytics and stuff, and YouTube doesn't put me out there as that being a part of what my channel does. So as content creators, that's stuff we have to. Um, in fact, if I'd have done this last year at this time, it wouldn't have been that way. So things have changed. So what I'm saying to you is when I come to you in a video, it's going to be more of a vlog. And it's going to start with a recipe, which most of y'all want anyways, or it's going to start with canning or something that that y'all have always come to me for. But it's also going to have to do with our life, our journey of if it's gardening, flea marketing, cooking, baking, um, whatever our life contains of. And even me reading to y'all, I'm just going to have to convert it into a nice vlog for y'all. And that's the way I'll have to do it. So I hope, if you're just here for the recipes, I always do it up front so that, I hope, and that's what helps me is if you watch the whole video. That's our watch time. So that helps tremendously. But it has changed. So we have to be careful what we put out there, how we put it out there. And I do every once in a while put a short out. I don't get much out of shorts, so I guess I just don't do them. Just like I don't get much out of lives, and so I just don't do them. So, anyways, that's just me. But like I said, YouTube has changed, so I always do some kind of cooking or talking about cooking or something right up front for those that want the recipe. But I hope and I pray that y'all stay with me throughout the video because I know y'all love being here in my home with me. Y'all are so good to me and Mr. Brown. So I just wanted to explain that to y'all a little bit why, we just have to kind of watch watch our content and how we do it and how we put it out there now. I thought about doing a membership, but then I sit on the fence with that because I don't want my subscribers to have to pay for anything. And I don't mean have to, because what you're watching, you know, is free content. But if there's personal things, certain things that I would love to do that YouTube will not put me out there with, I thought, well, I could do a membership for very little money a month. And the people that really want that content and want to see it and be a little bit more involved in some of the different aspects of personal parts of our lives, they might pay $1 a month or $5 a month. I don't know. I just sit on the fence with that because I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think about it, because I just don't know. I know how I feel about it. I just know that I can't really be as personal with y'all as I want to be, because there's a lot of people, mean people out there, put it that way, that seem to want to have a lot of opinions, and they say a lot of hurtful things to a lot of people. I've seen it to too many channels. And if I'm going to be personal, I want it to be with people that want to be personal back with me, not people that are just on there to troll and to make fun. Because you know what? People's lives are their lives, and there's ups and downs. There's things that people have went through, and there's things that people just want to share. But there's also people out there that want to just jab you right in the eye and in your side, and just want to make you feel bad because they got sad lives. But I can say for the most part, y'all have been wonderful to me. But email me or comment. Just tell me what you think about that, because I do, me and Mr. Brown do have, a life like everybody else does. And I had a different childhood. And of course, Mr. Brown had a wonderful childhood too, but I had a different childhood and things that I went through. And I love to read to y'all. And it just seems like it's more of a personal thing. So just let me know. And if it's not something I think that would be a good thing, then I won't do it. But anyways, so I've let this go on enough. I've got to go because I've got some errands to run. So we'll see y'all in a couple of days. And I just hope you enjoyed being with me. And I hope you try one of the best hot dogs you'll ever eat. So we love y'all. Most of all, God loves you. And we'll see y'all in a few days. Bye bye for now.